welcome to this edition of Border Report Live. My name is Rudy Mireles, and I am your host here in Harlingen, Texas, in the Rio Grande Valley of deep South Texans. We have got an incredibly packed program for you today on Border Report Live. Joining us in the studio are two members of the Carnalismo National Brown Berets RGV chapter. Yeah, you heard that right, the Brown Berets. It's a name we haven't really heard much about since the 60s and early 70s. Our South Texas correspondent, Sandra Sanchez, and I will be talking to them in a few minutes. So many questions about so many different topics, and we're going to try to slam them all in for you. But first, as always, we're going to take a look at what's trending across the border, starting with Texas Governor Greg Abbott has extended a deadline to the city of Austin over his threat to pull millions of dollars in public safety grant funding from the city over their policy change governing how Austin police officers may interact with ICE. We spoke with our KXAN partners, Grace Reeder, a couple weeks ago about this very issue. She had a long interview with one city council member from Austin. Well, she now has this update.
On the table right now, whether or not Austin City Council will alter the general orders that they made changes to earlier this year to satisfy Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Abbott says that he will pull $2.5 million in state grant funding should the city not do that. I am also told this afternoon that there are other grants that are either on the governor's desk or that are being worked on by the city of Austin to send to the governor that could also be at risk. That could bring the city to losing roughly $20 million.
The governor pushed back the deadline on Thursday night as city leaders were meeting to come up with a solution. Governor's Abbott press secretary says the governor wants, quote, that any policy Austin adopts require full cooperation with DHS, including notifying DHS and detaining individuals subject to removal proceedings, end quote. Now, the disagreement comes over whether the city will expend police resources for administrative warrants, which are not signed by a judge, but rather signed by a federal immigration official. Houston officials earlier this week tweaked their immigration ordinance policy, but Abbott still wasn't satisfied with those changes. We're going to stay up to date on this story and bring you more updates as they come. New border wall is quickly going up in Starr County. That's here on the South Texas border, just 2 counties to the west of us. And it's surprising and concerning the residents that live around the area. Our South Texas correspondent, Sandra Sanchez, visited Rio Grande City and filed this report.
Construction is going on behind me for this section of border wall in Rio Grande City in Starr County. It's going through a national wildlife refuge, and it's overlooking some new homes. This subdivision just being built here. The 30-foot bollards loom over a swing set in the backyard of this home. 40 to 50 panels per day are going up, residents tell us. This entire segment went up in a week, and they didn't even know it was coming.
I know some people feel real, like that it's real close, and like I said, in the morning I woke up and it was back there, and then afternoon I come outside and it's already done.
This resident wanted to remain anonymous, but did say they were one of the first homes in the subdivision, located a mile south of the Rio Grande City Hall. Did you know they were going to build a wall there because this is new, right? The subdivision.
Yeah, I didn't know that they were going to do it. And that close also. I showed my mom and she was like, damn.
It's part of 20 new miles of border wall being built by the Trump administration in the county, and part of 152 miles of primary border wall that U.S. Customs and Border Protection are building along the southwest border right now. The agency says on its website that the wall is necessary to gain operational control of the border and to stop illegal entries from Mexico. Dozens of environmental regulation laws were waived to fast-track construction. Maps on the FEMA website show the entire area to the Rio Grande is listed as a special flood hazard area. Environmentalists worry about what the wall will do to the landscape and public safety. This is Los Olmos Creek. It's just upriver from the subdivision. Environmentalists tell me they're concerned if this area floods like it did in 2010, the water could push towards the border wall. It could back up into the subdivision and cause flooding there. CBP helicopters patrol over the subdivision. So does an aerostat. Residents say the construction sounds are loud. Their houses shake. One woman says her phone lines were cut. Others complain of the sand and dust, and some are looking to leave.
Well, yeah, we're planning on moving, but now it's gonna be weird because I know that they were talking about how it's gonna affect, the price and everything.
And joining us now to talk more about this, our South Texas correspondent, Sandra Sanchez. Sandra, those bollards were like right next to that swing set there. And the thing I picked up, one of the many things I picked up in this story was that folks said it was up in a week. They had no idea this was coming.
Yeah, amazing. 40 to 50 bollards per day being constructed there. And residents tell me, and we spoke to many, it's just nobody wanted to go on camera, that they were not informed that this border wall was going up there. And here's an interesting thing. I actually spoke to one woman who is in the industry of putting up bollards and putting up border wall. And she actually lives in that subdivision. Wow. And she did not know it was going to be that close to this new subdivision.
So I assume they didn't get notification because technically there's no right away like we've seen. And so because we've talked about that, especially up towards Zapata County, people getting things in the mail or getting a knock on the door saying, hey, can you sign here saying we can do X, Y, or Z? That's not happening here.
No, you saw that one shot with the RGV. It's through a national wildlife refuge, the Lower Rio Grande Valley Wildlife Refuge. And so there are actually two roads that go there. And I had 9 months ago gone to that area where they had filed in the newspaper some notices that they wanted to take entry to these properties in the area. And I filmed a look live right there in the tree line and said, this is probably where the border wall is going to go. Well, that was a good, 500 yards south. They actually put the border wall on the first road. And I think I was shocked, and I think all the residents were shocked, and it went up so fast in a week.
You have a ton of experience on the border, and this is just kind of like a question that popped into my mind. Everywhere, let's say you're going out to Benson State Park out by the Butterfly Center, the National Butterfly Center. There's that levee that kind of drops off, but there's road on really both sides of the border wall. Can folks out there maybe expect DHS or someone to come knocking and saying, hey, we also got to build some road here, so we're going to take part of your land?
Yeah, and they absolutely can. And, also there's the 150-foot enforcement zone on either side of the wall. And so they have a right to, once they put the wall up, there's 150 feet, and they expect a road to go on either side for that distance. We also, remember, are in part of a military zone. And so that actually doubles if just being there, being that close to the wall, we are actually violating being on a military base because they have declared this part of joint San Antonio base. And what I don't understand is how the wall could go up so close to that swing set, because it feels like it's inside of that military base zone. But, I guess that's a question we need to ask officials. It doesn't look like very fun to be on that swing set.
And then it raises a whole nother set of questions. Like we've seen those what some are calling unconstitutional, entries into people's yards, into people's homes.
The right of entry, right.
Yeah, down here in the Rio Grande Valley. So it makes you wonder, if I'm just out on the back porch and a federal agent or, a NICE agent or, Border Patrol agent or even, someone with the National Guard that may be, on some kind of duty down there, can they just walk up onto my property, come in the back door, and do whatever they want in that house?
No. And I spoke to one lady, Naida Alvarez. She is in between Rio Grande City and Roma, and she's been a long-time opponent of the border wall. She actually led us onto her property. She said in February she received what's an ROE, a right of entry letter, where they're requesting that. And, her advice, everyone's advice is to seek legal counsel before you sign anything like that. If you have any hesitations, don't sign anything. She has actually painted the words "no border wall" on her roof, and we went out there and got a shot of that. And she says, they're back at it. They want to divide my property. She overlooks directly the Rio Grande. So we'll let you know if that happens.
All right. Well, thank you for reporting on that. Stay with us, though, because when we come back, Sandra Sanchez is going to be leading a conversation with the Brown Beret Rio Grande Valley chapter about what they're doing here in 2026. So stay with us. We'll Report Live is back in 2 minutes. edition of Border Report Live. I'm going to give it over to our South Texas correspondent, Sandra Sanchez, now to introduce our guests for today's program.
Thanks, Rudy. Okay, we're all sitting at a desk together, so we're going to try not to look at one another, but really excited. We have the Carnalismo National Brown Berets RGV chapter leader, Elizabeth Rodriguez. She is to my right, and then we have Denisse Carrion, and there are the Brown Berets. I was at an event covering it, and I saw you guys, and I just said, wow, we really want to have you over because this is an organization we haven't heard about in really years, right? But I looked up your mission statement, says that you, quote, stand for education, community outreach, and promoting unity for all those involved in a grassroots struggle. So what does that mean, and what do you do?
Our mission at as Brown Berets comes from the original movement in which our origins and the civil rights movement back in the 1960s. And so we are here to observe, serve, and protect our communities, specifically when it comes to them exercising their rights to demonstrate peacefully, have actions, and bring attention, bring awareness to certain issues that are impacting the community. So one of the things that we do is we offer security for events, actions, and we monitor, we observe, and if there should happen to be a situation in which there are antagonizers or any kind of situation in which the public needs protection, we're there to serve as the front line defenders to stand between whatever antagonizers or any kind of situation that might be unfolding to protect our community members who are exercising their rights. And we want to be there to stand not just in solidarity with them, but in their defense, to be observers, legal observers, and help them exercise their constitutional rights.
So your muscle, but you're for a cause regarding civil rights issues. There's a lot of them that are happening right now in the era of ICE detentions, deportations. I ran into you Saturday at, you all went in the caravan to Dilley, to the immigration processing facility there, part of the protest. They were expecting 400 people. Denisse, tell me, what was the Dilley event like? And, this, I think, is just one of many of the events you've been part of recently, right?
Yes, a lot of orgs came from all over the nation to work together in order to make sure that they close down the camps at Dilley. And what it means is that we need due process. I know this Trump administration ran on mass deportations, but they need to do things by the rules. There seems there's no law and order, and we are a nation of law, and they need to respect human life and just follow the rules.
Well, they've made their own immigration policy is what's happened, and there's no claims for asylum, or if you do come illegally, you can expect to be detained, you can expect to be deported, maybe even deported to a third world country. So, in essence, they have made immigration policy. What needs to change with it?
Well, they need immigration reform. Every administration talks about it, but no one delivers. We need immigration reform. We need ICE to respect the rules. We need to stop targeting the brown communities whenever it comes to deportations. And it's just as unfortunate. Everything that Trump has done under this administration, it's embarrassing that we're supposed to live in the nation that's the greatest nation of all when we're not. Look at what's going on in the centers. There has been congressional oversight, and they've said that those centers need to be shut down because of the way their food is. They have bugs. There's just no way that we can continue to have detainees there who have not been given due process. And it's just as unfortunate.
So recently, you also protested outside of the office of Republican Congresswoman Monica De La Cruz, represents Texas Congressional District 15, as well as the San Benito Office of Refugee Resettlement facility where pregnant 13-year-old migrant girls are being sent. I mean, Elizabeth, why did you participate in those events, and how was the turnout?
Here's the main point. These are vulnerable communities. These are hardworking people. Instead of calling them illegal, we call them unauthorized. The only crime that they have committed is that they're not lawyers. They're not experts in immigration law, and they are simply seeking their constitutional right to seek asylum or refuge in the closest country to them. So that they can survive whatever it is that they're fleeing from. This is a basic human right that they are exercising. Now, these people are hardworking people. They come in and do the most essential jobs. They fulfill our farm worker roles. The majority, we have 70% of our farm workers, out of 2.4 million farm workers, are Hispanic, predominantly from Mexico and Guatemala. And 70 out of that 70%, about 40% is undocumented. We, aside from farm working, aside from feeding our country, these workers they're building our homes. They are our domestic workers. They're our restaurant workers. They're fulfilling the essential jobs of this economy, contributing to our economy without getting any of the benefits. Our economy thrives thanks to them. So that is why we need to treat them with dignity and respect. We need to value their roles and give them a right to a legal path or a work permit so that they can be here legally.
Now, you also work with the farm workers, correct? What is your day job?
My day job, I am the Director of Farm Worker Advocacy with the National Farm Worker Ministry. We partner with farm worker led and elected nonprofit organizations that are working hard to improve their own living and working conditions by promoting the policies that will help them improve their lives.
And how are the farm workers doing with all of these raids? I mean, are they showing up in the fields? Are they coming for help? What is the morale? What is going on?
I think that the true concern is that 1 out of every 3 small farmer and grower right now are shutting their doors down. One of the contributing factors is that there is a lack of labor force. It is due to the immigration crackdown of this administration. Unfortunately, they are trying to expand the H-2A guest worker program, which is solely a supplemental program. And it is another extension of modern day slavery. It is one of those policies that throughout history has been extended to continue to import labor, make them exploitable. Majority of farm workers are very vulnerable to human trafficking and labor exploitation. So when it comes to our food systems, they're being threatened by these tactics that are not serving our community. And it doesn't matter what side of politics we are on. Farmers are hurting, and at the end of the day, our families are going to hurt because there's going to be less food and it's going to go up in price.
Well, sorry, I just did want to step in because I just wanted to get a little clarification for my own benefit. When you were talking about that visa program, are you talking about the something that actually Representative De La Cruz had introduced, that Bracero 2.0 program?
That is correct.
Okay.
She's trying to walk back hard-working protections that we have advocated for in the most recent decade to protect these workers from exploitation. And as of recently, Department of Labor changed the methodology on how they pay the workers. It is estimated anywhere from 2.46 billion to up to 5.4 billion is going to be lost in wages from farm workers to go straight into the hands of farmers or employers.
I'm curious because you lead this chapter of the Brown Berets. So how do you marry representing farm workers with the Beret chapter, and what does the organization do to help the farm workers?
Well, like I mentioned, predominantly farm workers are Hispanic, And if you study the history of America's agriculture industry has always relied on imported foreign labor. After slavery ended and as Jim Crow laws were abolished, we had an introduction of the guest worker programs. The first one was the Bracero program, and it failed. Then we had an introduction of the H-2A worker program. This continues to be an issue in which people of color are seen as exploitable, cheap labor. We're denied our basic citizenship rights. In America, citizenship is treated like a privilege when it is a human basic right. These are human beings. We should not be lowering them down to any stereotypes other than they are hardworking, valuable members of our society.
I know it goes so fast when we get on this show. You mentioned the farm workers recently, that all involving Cesar Chavez. How do you get past that with your organization? And also, some people in the past have thought of Brown Berets as extremists. I mean, how do you get past that persona?
Our history is directly in the hands of the people. Cesar Chavez was a face of the movement, but so was Dolores Huerta. And she's very much a victim as well. We call out sexual violence in the fields. Therefore, we stand behind the United Farm Worker Movement in calling out this behavior. We stand by Dolores Huerta and the victims in solidarity. This is a movement for farm workers, by farm workers, and we're going to continue to honor that movement.
Very quickly, if someone's interested in joining or somebody is interested in more information, what should they do?
They can reach out to us via social media. We are on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and wherever you go, you can find a Brown Beret to reach out to.
All right.
I did want to ask one last question. Sorry, I know we're running low on time.
You're in charge, Rudy.
But I did want to ask, we've seen, especially with what we saw in Minnesota, for example, New York, different cities across the country, those massive ICE border operations, deportation operations happening. We saw the Black Panthers also kind of making a resurgence in these larger cities. What is the hope for your organization as we kind of cross into this new territory? And what happens if, in a couple years, the Trump administration is gone and, a different administration comes in? Does the organization keep going?
We're going to keep going. Our goal is to empower our community. Mexican Americans, Chicanos, Latinos, we are American. We're more American than anybody else. We deserve to be recognized. We deserve to be represented in Congress. We deserve to have positions of power. So no matter what it is, we're going to stand in solidarity with our community. We're going to keep educating. We're going to keep promoting. And we are going to continue to advocate for those most vulnerable in our communities. And we're here to ensure that our people thrive, not just survive.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've been speaking with Elizabeth Rodriguez and Denisse Carrion from the Carnalismo National Brown Berets RGV chapter. We appreciate you guys joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us here.
All right. Stay with us. Border Report Live will be back in 2 minutes. Edition of Border Report Live. Before we go, we wanted to remind you that you can stay informed on the stories shaping the U.S.-Mexico border while on your commute home. Maybe you are taking the dog out for a walk or getting a workout in at the gym, as Border Report Live brings you real-time updates, expert insights, and voices from both sides of the border in podcast form. You can listen now on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and both the audio and video version on YouTube. And also, don't forget to check out our partners at Political Power Ranker. It's a weekly show tracking the movers, shakers, and rule makers in American politics. Nextstar's Director of Political Content, Chris Berg, and Director of Emerson College Polling, Spencer Kimball, break down who's up and who's down in the world of politics based on data. A lot of episodes dropping as we get closer and closer to the midterm election, so make sure to check it out. You can find more on PPR at abc27.com or your local Nextstar station's website. That's going to do it for us today. For Sandra Sanchez right here in South Texas, my name is Rudy Mireles. We'll see you next time.